So here's the obligatory rebuttal video. There are a lot of misconceptions. I'll try and go through at least some of them. First of all, Al-Qaeda and Taliban are not the same entity. It was Al-Qaeda that attacked us on 9/11, not the Taliban. The Taliban had welcomed Al-Qaeda into Afghanistan because they had offered flesh and blood support in ejecting the Soviets from Afghanistan. Now, the U.S. provided help to the Taliban too, but we did in the form of funding and weapons. All right, but Al-Qaeda provides support in terms of flesh and blood, boots on the ground, people willing to die for their cause. All right, so it's understandable how they would welcome such an organization into their country. But after 9/11, they had been willing to produce bin Laden under certain terms, and those terms included not handing him over to the U.S., but to hand him over to a third party. Right? But the U.S., George Bush wanted none of that. He wanted to have his own court and to do it his own way, and he had the weapons, and he just thought he could intimidate them into complying. All right. Well, that obviously didn't work out. All right. So this idea that they've joined at the hip is just ridiculous. Okay. So, well, what the U.S. wants to do more than anything, we want to go after Al-Qaeda as being a threat. Now, the Taliban is not a threat, at least historically it's not been a threat to the U.S. In fact, we're allies against the Soviets, all right? Now, that may have changed after we invaded their country, all right? But the Taliban has not historically been an enemy of the United States. Al-Qaeda was an enemy, all right? Let me see. I guess another misconception is that liberals somehow approve of the Taliban or want to make peace with the Taliban or what have you, or willing to think that what the Taliban do is just fine. It's their section of the world. They should be able to run it any way they want. Well, first of all, let me say that I've been following the Taliban for a long, long time, longer than 9/11. And I was simply appalled when they blew up the Buddhist statues long ago. All right, their version of Sharia law is as repugnant as anything I can imagine. The way they treat women, the way they treat criminals, and their justice system, and their excessive reliance on brutal punishment. Beheadings and amputations and stonings, and it's just horrible. It's a horrible system of justice. It really is. All right, and I don't approve of it at all. The question for me though is not whether or not I approve of it. It's what steps will get us towards fixing that. All right, what will get us towards correcting it? And it's not clear to me that invading the country is going to succeed, okay? Because, hey, we invaded their country, we drove them all out, and what do you know? They grew back, all right? It's like hair. You cut it, and it grows back, all right? So my personal opinion is that a war-ravaged country like that is not going to have much room for moderates, all right? That if you want moderates, you're going to have to let them develop an environment where they're able to raise their voice a little bit. A moderate in a war-torn country is not going to last very long, all right? Just, you can forget about that. Talking to moderates, it may very well be true that there aren't moderates in the Taliban currently, or certainly none that are outspoken. But I think it's important to let them know what we want, okay? That they understand that we don't consider them the enemy as much as we consider Al-Qaeda the enemy, all right? We've got obvious problems with them, but if they're going to take over the country or we're going to go to war with them, I mean, it certainly cannot hurt to open up some sort of dialogue, all right? And as far as I'm concerned, we've got the military might. We can do what we want over there. We could just wipe out the whole country with atom bombs if we so desired, all right? The question is, what kind of outcome do we want? And how are we going to get there? It's not clear to me that it's all going to be military, all right? The only thing we can do with military is we can kill more people, and we can devastate their living conditions even further, all right? And make it so the only people who have any kind of voice in that country are radicals, all right? So, if there's going to be some sort of military action, I think it should be targeted at Al-Qaeda. And the Taliban, as far as what they're doing, we should make it known that they're not our mortal enemies. They did not attack us on 9/11. That we went after them because they were harboring Al-Qaeda. The ones we want are Al-Qaeda, not necessarily the Taliban. We don't approve of what it is they're doing, all right? But, I mean, what are you going to do? How are you going to fix that? How are you going to correct that without killing everyone in that country, all right? It's we should be concerned first and foremost about the threat to the United States, all right? Now, you could say that, from a international socialist perspective, you want everyone to have human rights, and I'm certainly in favor of that, but, certainly killing people is not respecting their human rights, all right? So I guess in conclusion, I would say that, whatever it is you're trying to make it out to be some huge joke, this is deadly serious business. We can't just kill people and expect to make things better, all right? Life is not improved by killing people. The only thing we should be killing people over is when they pose a direct threat to us, okay? The only reason for killing, in my opinion, is in self-defense, all right? That's the only justified form of killing, all right? And the Taliban, they're going against our soldiers, yeah, but it's because they're trying to prop up a government that's not so strong, okay? We should make it very clear to them that the only ones we're interested in neutralizing are Al-Qaeda, that we don't approve of what they're doing, but we don't intend to go to war over it. We don't intend to kill people over their Sharia law. There are other ways of dealing with that, all right? We can provide a good alternative. We could, there's other kinds of pressures that can be brought to bear to deal with those issues. Killing people is not going to change their religion, all right? It's not going to change it. In fact, having a war-torn country and lots of killing and death going on, it's only going to make people more religious and more fanatical, all right? So that's the story of Afghanistan, if you want the truth, all right? So, anyways, putting the feelers out there, I think the United States has enough strength that we don't have to worry about what the world is going to think, that we're pussies because we're willing to talk to our enemies, all right? Everyone knows we've got the mightiest military the Earth has ever known, all right? We got that. Why isn't it working, all right? Why isn't it getting us what we want? Because it's not. It's because it's not the right tool. It's not the right tool for bringing about the change we want. All right. So, anyways, I've talked enough. That's all for now. Thanks.